Bingo and Roger at home. Dad in the hospital.
All right, sorry we're late at night. Candidate works during the day. He's a school teacher, most of you all know. Amy, and excuse me if I refer to you as Amy Beckett, because
That's fine.
I struggle all the time with people I knew before that I don't call them their married name.
I'm still Amy Beckett, no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. Now we just added
That's
a Hurst to it. Long-time teacher at Southern and Northern, right?
Just Northern.
Oh, I thought you were at Southern at one time.
No.
Okay.
I've always been at Northern. This is my 25th year.
Wow.
Yes, I think that's correct. 25. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, as you all well know, you're watching this as Conversations with Keith. We're continuing with our city council representatives. There's a lot of them, so we got a lot to get through. A lot of things that we want to talk about that you all want to know about her time on council as well as in the future. And so we'll go ahead and get started. We kind of all started this. What year did you graduate?
I graduated from Pendleton High School in 1989.
All right, so 1989, we started the same questions. You've already told us a little bit. What's been going on since you graduated high school?
Since I graduated high school, I attended Northern Kentucky University. I received a bachelor's in elementary ed. In 1994, I got married to Roger Hurst. And
he does what?
And he is also a teacher. He teaches in Harrison County. He teaches engineering and physics classes and calculus.
Gotcha.
AP classes. And from then on, I went and got my master's.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's brag a little bit.
Okay.
He was the SEC.
He was the SEC Teacher of the Year for UK. Dylan Pulliam had honored him with that, and he was chosen as one of the teachers to be honored in the extra yards for teachers.
Yes.
Is what it was. So yes.
Yeah.
Very honored.
Oh, absolutely. That's a nice thing, and something doesn't come around a lot.
Right.
So that's a pretty cool
It
thing to
doesn't
mention.
come around very often.
Yeah, very
so
true.
It's
I'm
a very
sorry.
honor. That's okay.
Continue going on.
And then I received my master's in general education. Then I went back for my rank 1 as a reading specialist. Then of course we had our son Fisher. He is 16, a junior at Pendleton County High School, and he's looking forward to also attending Northern Kentucky University, I'm pretty sure. So that makes
Major in
Mom happy. Mathematics and social studies as of right now. So he wants to go into education
Okay,
also.
you can't talk about that.
Can't talk him out. No, he likes it, so and he also wants to preach. So we told him you have to do 2 things if you're.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, and we won't get a sidetrack because we could fill up the videotape talking about the state of education now.
We could.
So we won't go on that.
Let's not go there today.
And they don't want to hear about that also. So, well, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll jump right into it. One of the things we've kind of started with all these things, I believe, is simply, it seems in the last 3 or 4 months, all y'all ever talk about is the U word, utilities.
Utilities is a big issue.
It has been. What is the importance of the city council these last few months being focused on it, as well as city council in the future having to focus on it? What's the importance of that?
Well, one importance is with our electric, that the previous city council had already started a contract with KYMEA, I want to say. It's the Kentucky
Municipalities Energy Association.
I always think of it as the Kentucky Music Education Association, and it's not the same.
Yes.
I always think that. So that's how I always try to remember that. So we are going to be switching over to that in 2019. That was one reason for the rate increase with electricity, was KU had also raised ours, so we have to balance out at the end with them, and then also start a new company. So
the rate increase for electricity back in July came about because KU raised the rates to you all.
In a sense, yes. And then at the end of I want to say in May, then we will have a bill from them, sort of like an ending bill, and that's going to help pay that, because it wouldn't be.
So what does KYMEA, what is the association with that? How's that going to, what will be going on with electricity because of that association?
Hopefully with that association that eventually our rates will decrease. They've also tapped into some solar power usage that I'm hoping, that we can also tap into also, that is carried over here. So hopefully it's a win-win for the city.
When will you know what the rates are going to be?
I'm not for sure. For that.
Okay, and do you know once you're given a rate, does it change monthly? Is it set for a year? I mean, like, I guess KU.
It's set for a while, but then,
Okay.
you know, things change.
Yeah.
It depends on gas use. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into rates.
Okay.
So, I mean, you know, I can't say that it
Okay.
would change yearly. I can't say that it would change monthly because I don't know.
When do you expect that presentation from KYMEA or whatever the acronym is to come? I'm guessing
We've
before
had
May.
several presentations, so hopefully the closer we get, then they're closer to the rates and what we'll be paying and different things. And they've mentioned a few, but I can't say those right off the top of my head. It's in my tons of notebooks that I'm sure is at the house where we would maybe start out at. But, you know, and that's nothing's a definite until you actually start something.
Gotcha. So that's electricity. What about water, sewage, and trash?
Water and sewage is an issue that's been ongoing, I think, for years and years and years.
Let me throw a little education in
Okay.
here. You've had a lot of sewage in the last 6 months between a sewage bill and a sewer utility
Yes,
rate.
we have, but we won't go there.
That's true.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about sewage and water that I didn't think I know. I always taught, you know, conservation of water and different things in school, but, you know, the sewer part's new to me in all aspects. But, you know, it's something that things need to be maintained. And there's a lot of upgrading that needs to be done. And we're currently looking into some KIA loans, possibly an RD loan. Right now we're in the beginning of stages of that, and we have engineers that have come in and they're identifying the priority issues, which is what we need to focus on, the priority issues.
What are some of the priority issues that you all know you have to face?
The tanks. Two
The
of the
water
tanks, the water tanks that need to be redone, painted and some work done to them. A retention basin, I believe it's called. Like I said, I'm new to all this, so I'm still learning. I feel like after 2 years, I've finally got my feet wet, and there's a lot more to being on city council than just sitting there and saying yes or no. It's a lot of research at home, and I've done a lot of research at home, but the
So were you
retention
surprised by
basins-
that? The amount of research and things that you probably knew that there were some, but were
I
you
knew there would
surprised?
be some, but yeah, I've spent hours researching and just looking into stuff at home. I have lots. In fact, my family helps me research and stuff at home, and my neighbors help me research. So it's a group effort.
So Fisher's getting a first-hand, behind-the-scenes knowledge of government, city government. Well, that's good for you.
It is good
That's
for
good
him.
for
It's
him.
good for him to learn.
So I'm sorry, you were
Okay,
talking.
and then so that's water and sewage. So basically, you know, we need some upgrades, maintenance issues, stuff that, you know, just like your car, if you don't maintain it over years, you know, you're going to have to do some major repairs. And unfortunately, we have to do some major repairs due to a per order agreement. I'm hoping I'm getting all these terms right.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing. That
And the agreement comes from the state.
And the agreement comes from state.
And if you don't do the
Then
agreement,
we're in violations again, which we've been out of violations for a while now, so that's a good thing. It was costing the city a lot of money when I first came on to council, just with violations.
and that's through fines. The state
through
issues
fines,
fines
yes.
if you don't get up to where you're supposed to be. Okay.
And they've worked very, very hard, and I know all the departments are working hard with the state and with the engineers. They're all collaborating together, and it's going to be a positive thing once it's all hopefully done.
Now you mentioned sewage and water with the tanks and the reservoir basin,
Yeah, the retention.
or pool, whatever the term is. We've heard a lot about lines and the
There
clay
may
lines.
be some lines that need to be changed over, yeah.
Okay,
But they'll have to determine the worst case scenario ones, and those would be the ones that we would focus on first.
Are you in a financial position to make major changes with the lines, or you need to focus on these first?
I feel personally that financially we need to focus on what the per order agreement says first.
Okay.
And then any extra that we have then can go towards those things. But
Gotcha.
first we have to do the per order agreement first. And I think that's priority one.
Okay.
And I think that we've pretty much set that in council with the engineers and stuff. This has to be done first. And, you know, financially, I wish we could afford to redo the whole city, but that's not possible in any city unless, I don't know, they win the Mega Millions.
That's it,
and unfortunately, we all didn't buy tickets to win, so
That's
you know,
true, yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Hey, I bought a Powerball ticket. Powerball, I won $4.
Oh, we didn't win
IRS, you didn't hear that.
any. We didn't win any, so, oh well.
On the city and water, you do the projects. Most likely, you'll have to get a loan.
Yes.
Is it grant or a loan?
Well, that depends on which type of loan or grant that we get. So
Okay.
it depends on whether it's, I believe, the RD loan, which is rural development, I want to say, or the KIA loan. So there's a lot of pending factors there.
Now, you have to pay back both of them back no matter what?
And some are like a matching, so some may be, money that you don't have to pay back, but more than likely,
You'll have to pay
you
back
have
some.
to, well, we will have to pay back. Yeah. And it also depends on like your poverty levels and different things like that. So there's a lot that takes into play, so really we won't know a lot of that until closer to the time when a decision needs to be made, yes or no.
Question that they're dying out there to know the answer to, what possibility may happen to their utility rates with this project? Are they staying the same?
There is a
Realistically gonna go up?
possibility that they may go up just a little bit. From what I've looked at with, they did some projected rates. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but when I look at other cities and other rates, we're still below a whole lot of other cities. So, and you also have to look at how many thousands of gallons they charge you for in sewage. And I didn't know this, that it takes more money to treat sewage than it does water. I always thought it would be the opposite, but it's not.
Really?
So where our sewage rates were lower than our water rates, that's sort of
you were losing money on the sewage because you were way too low.
Because we were way too low, and it costs more to do that, which is something new. Like I said, I have learned a lot about sewer, water, garbage, everything this year. So yeah. Do I still know everything? No. Can I answer your questions the best I can? Yes. Do I hope they're accurate? I hope so. But like I said, we're still learning. We're still in that learning process, and like I said, with the engineers and stuff. So we're still in the preliminary stages.
Okay. All right. Anything else about sewage and water?
No, that's it.
All right.
I try to sort of make some notes. You know how I am, Keith.
I
I gotta write down
understand.
thoughts. Gotta have my lesson plans.
City of Maysville, on an issue, staying on utilities, this seemed to be put to bed. The City of Maysville made a decision this week that one of the candidates for mayor brought back up and indicated that this might be an issue that comes back up if he wins mayor. And the City of Maysville voted to put into plan with Rumpke pretty much the same plan that you all voted against. What was...
Well, for number one, we can't compare ourselves with the City of Maysville. For number one, they have more industry there, so that's a different type of funding that they have. For number two, they have more residents paying for garbage where we don't. Even when I research garbage, even like the cities that I called that are locally around us, just within the surrounding counties, we were still, they have more pickups than we do, so they can get a better rate, they can get better service, they can get stuff, and they're still doing the billing and stuff. But
are those other cities doing it on their own, or are they doing it through Rumpke?
It varies.
Okay.
It varies.
Okay.
There's some cities that are doing it on their own still, and there's some that are doing it through other garbage facilities.
Might not be Rumpke, might be Bavarian or whatever.
Right. But once again, even when I look at those cities, you have industry, you have more residents, pickups, and when the one city told me how many pickups they had, I'm like, oh, well, I can't make that comparison because that's like 4 times what we have here, and you're just 20 miles away from us. So I can't really compare that to that. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. A city may want to go with another company. A city may want to keep it. It really depends on their needs. And garbage does help pay our bills. And if something's paying your bills, you don't want to give it up. And that's,
And that's the reason why you
that's
made
the
your
reason
vote
why
you did?
I made my vote the way it did. We were still holding money back. So I know if I'm able to put money back each month, that's a positive. And the city puts that back each month. 10% of that goes into a special fund each month. So there is a savings there. There is that. So, yes.
Yeah.
I did a lot of research on this.
Now, but you are pulling out of that savings to pay some things, not just to purchase the truck.
Yeah.
But each year there's been some things.
Some, but not a whole.
It's kind of varied from year.
It varies from year to year, and that's like with the other funds too. You have the reserve fund for mineral funds, and there's other funds too that you can pull from, and some of them are more specific on what you can pull from and different things. And like I said, I'm learning all of this now too, so so I hope I'm
sewage,
stating
garbage,
that correct.
losing
Sewage,
all
garbage. I'm learning all kinds of stuff.
All the exciting things.
It is exciting. It is exciting to research it, and it is kind of neat just to call around and find out different things.
So we talked about moving forward, the focus of the water and the sewage. Moving forward, and I guess in your eyes that trash, that's kind of been set to the side, and so there's no need to move forward on that.
I hope that's yes.
Yeah. What about electric? Is there any ideas or thoughts moving forward that this is what we need to do with electric, not to do with electric? We're good
to be
there.
honest with you, we just started like I said before I came in, there was a new company that started. So you got to look at those factors too.
You're most likely going to have to make some adjustments as that honeymoon period of those first 6 months or so.
So we'll see how that works.
Okay.
Like I said.
All right. Anything else on utilities?
No.
That might be the shortest utility talk you've ever had.
It may be. And positive.
Another key issue, and probably is the most key issue that people have had to talk about. They've asked about utilities because they kind of felt like they had to. But what they really want to talk about is bringing new businesses to Falmouth.
I would love to bring some new businesses into Falmouth.
How does City Council do that?
Hopefully by developing the Clee property. I know when we first came onto council, there was an interested party and that had fallen through. So hopefully someone else will see the potential there on the Clee property, and we can actually develop that. I would love to see like an appliance store or something like that.
Like Conrad's used to be.
I would love to have, there's nothing like Conrad's when you can call up and say, I need a refrigerator. What kind? Just a plain refrigerator. Here's the key. I'll leave it with you. And you have somebody go in, put it in your new refrigerator and take the old one out, plug it in for you. I miss that.
Yeah.
Same with washers, dryers, dishwashers, and that was a service that I was used to. So now I have Sears, and you gotta wait.
And they're going bankrupt.
And they're going bankrupt. So so now we're wondering, but I would love to see something that useful come in that we can do. In fact, that was on my list. Development includes appliances, furniture. There's nowhere to buy furniture anymore.
That's true. I tell you what, there's nowhere, which it hit me this morning. I come in, I did about 45 minutes of work, and I was hungry for breakfast. There's nowhere to go get 2 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon, and toast in Falmouth.
The other day, I was talking with Dad, and he was talking about the past, and he was talking about Stop and Tell, and I said, oh, how I would love to have a Stop and Tell hamburger. And I don't remember what they were called. They were the best hamburgers and French fries, real French fries, fried in real grease, and a piece of coconut pie for Mama Jean.
With the meringue about that pie?
Yeah. So that sounds wonderful. So yes, and you always went there for breakfast or the Heritage House. Mm-hmm. I remember having hot chocolate before school.
Yeah.
Always at the Heritage House sitting at the counter. So a breakfast place would be wonderful.
So, okay, a lot of us have those memories and we want them.
Right.
But you would be in position to do something to get them here.
Right.
What is that City Council needs to do?
One thing that City Council can't exactly do that, but we have to have a workforce. We have to have employees that are able to do those jobs. And it seems to be that a lot of industry, even in past surveys done by UK, and there was an economic survey done, and I've researched this too, in 2012 or 10 or something like that, there was an economic research done. And employable, that was the one thing. People that were able to do those types of jobs.
What do you mean by employable?
Employable.
Is it
that's
training?
Not the word I wanted to use. Able to somebody to stick with it, somebody trained, able to do customer service. That's something that lacks, I think, today in a lot of areas.
You know what that is? It's a good old marketing program,
That's
DECA
right.
program that
DECA
Ma Ritter and I did.
That's right. And those that went through that, they are very marketable as
Absolutely.
employees. And I think that, we focus a lot on college, but there was also a study done on tradesmanship, that we need more tradesmen in the world, that we focus so much on, post-secondary and going to college, that we're losing that trade skill of people working in the factories and the manufacturers and the welders. I know welding has become a big money maker for people, and they're doing really well in that. And there are several schools that train in that, and they're doing really well. So one thing is a workforce. I think some incentives from the city, if it's a small tax incentive or something, I'm not for sure how that would work out. That's something you'd have to look into and research some more. But I really think that's something that the city needs to look into, is trying to develop that property or get some of those businesses in here, even in downtown.
When you talk about CLE property and developing that property, what is it an industrial park? Is it a retail park? Is it a residential home park? What is the best thing to go? Because if you make it a residential park, you're bringing in families who are going to spend, you're creating a tax base. If you're going to make it an industrial park, how long have we been chasing an industrial park?
We've been chasing an industrial park for a long time because I think a lot of that has to do with our location and where we're at. We're not feasible to get to an interstate quickly. And
that may be a question for the leaders to look at and say, City of
Falmouth. And I know it's been
maybe it's
looked at for, I know, ever since Henry Bertram was judge and he presented the super highway that was being planned to go through Pendleton Grant in those areas, and that's been at least 20 years ago.
And have we dug any shovel loads of dirt on that? No. So, it might be this next generation of city council to make another hard decision and say, we got to go some other. We've been chasing this forever. We don't have any results, positive results from us trying this, and our people need something.
Right.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting thing.
Interesting to see.
Do you have a thought? Which one? Retail, residential, industrial?
I would just like to see progress. Whether it's retail, industrial at the industrial park, which of course would be better than the CLE property, or even what was the other one?
Residential, retail, or industrial.
And actually, residential. There was just another study done. Mr.
Yeah, she's a teacher. Of course, there's studies.
And I have to. I won't say the resident's name, but when I first came on council, and we had a first rough couple of months and everything, and this person was at the gas station the same time I was, and he goes, "You just hang in there." He goes, "You do what you do best," and I said, "What's that?" I was like, "Okay, what's that?"
That's a loaded question.
He goes, "You research." He goes, "That's your job. You research and you search for answers." So that's always stuck with me, and that person knows who they are, and I thank them for that because yes, I do research a lot. So yeah, but in the study that was done by NKU, by their economic development, our population's going down, which is one reason why our school systems are losing money, because we don't have the student population that we used to. I mean, we're looking at, there was a need to grow our buildings, and now we have buildings and not enough students to populate all the rooms. And you hate to say that, but I mean, that's the truth. And our poverty level here in the county has also gone down since the 1990s. That it's gone down tremendously. And another thing is our economic development has gone down. What have we lost? And not only in reference to the 97 flood, but even before that, we had Shoals, we had, of course now we have Hammer, but we had Fuller's. I mean, how many people did Fuller's employ? That was a major hub here in the county. I mean, so we've lost a lot of those industries and stuff, and I would love to see some of that come back.
I was told by one of the interviewers for another position, another office, that the number one employer in the state of Kentucky is small businesses. Not industrials, not a big corporation, that it's small businesses. Assuming that's accurate, and in our community, I think that probably is pretty accurate,
It
that
is
small
probably pretty
businesses,
accurate,
yes. What do we have to do to encourage people willing to invest their money in a small business that opens it up? And you get, over the next 2 years, 5 to 7 businesses to open up that employs 10 to 12 people, and now you've employed 50 to 60 people, while giving choices and things. What do we need to do to encourage that in Falmouth?
That's a good question.
That's why I'm in this
I
seat.
feel like we've
not in that
touched,
seat.
I know, I feel like we've touched on that
Yeah.
some. I mean, I could always say, number one, tax incentives. I know that there's help through the Small Business Association, that they help small businesses. I think that we can encourage working with the school systems and working to where this is what your small business needs. So let's, that marketing class, or that let's get that trades class back, or let's get something that these small businesses can actually use.
You mentioned marketing. When I started teaching, I had a senior class of 15 to 20 seniors who co-opted and went out to those small businesses. Hardee's, 3 or 4.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, Teresa Caswell at Hometown Pizza. One year we went to Decca State, and she had to pull in workers from Grant County because I took almost her entire
She had to pull in
staff.
workers from college.
Did you have to go
I
work
had to
it?
go back. Yes,
Yeah.
I was one of the original waitresses at Hometown when
Yeah.
it first opened. Teresa and I were actually. And and every once in a while, even though I was teaching, Teresa would call me and say, "Are you busy this weekend?" No. Or, Frank would even call, from Angelo's and said, "It's prom week." And I go, "Well, Eduardo's already, or, Hometown already has me," whichever one it was then.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I mean, that is something that, yeah.
Absolutely.
With those
And
classes.
it worked back in those
It
days.
did.
It absolutely worked, both for businesses and the school and the kids. Anything else about businesses?
No.
Anything on? All right. One of the other issues that is even a more difficult subject, drug issue. City Council, kind of limited on what you
We
can
are
do
very
there.
limited on what
You
we
have the
can
Falmouth, the police
We have the
department.
police department, and I know in the past, let's say 4 to 6 months, they've been doing an exceptional job trying to get, but it's not just here.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
national.
absolutely.
And I'm probably going to get emotional here because, we deal with that a lot at school.
Mhm.
And it's a very big issue here in the county.
And you do with it where you're dealing with not necessarily the kids having the
Right.
problem, but little kids struggling in a home where the parents
Where
have
the
the
parents
problem.
have the problem. And,
And so
the
it's an-
stories they come in with, and
Oh, and they're going to
things
tell
that
the
we do. Oh,
stories.
and they do. They tell everything that happens at home. I'm just telling you that, good or bad. But it's heartbreaking because it's not just people have this persona of who these people are, and it's everywhere. It's every walk of life. It's every socioeconomic path. I mean, it's everywhere. And one thing we can do, and I probably shouldn't say this, is pray. I mean, pray that this problem. But I know that the police department's working very hard. I know the sheriff's department's working very hard. I know Champions. I've been to several Champions events, and
Okay.
they're promoting the
Explain Champions. A lot of people probably don't even know what it is.
Drug-free. I'm trying to think now. I can't think of it. Drug-free Champions
know.
for Pendleton County. It's something similar to that. But they do programs that promote anti-drug use. They're at football games, and they do special programs for the kids, like the block parties, promoting family. The resource centers, they do a lot of special programs too throughout the school year that parents can come to. There's a lot of different programs out there, but that's a problem that there's not an easy solution
Oh,
to.
absolutely.
And that's what's sad. And it's nationwide.
Yeah.
It's an epidemic, and hopefully there will be some ceasing of it, but it's hard. And I don't know the answer of how to fix it.
Well, I will tell you the same thing I told the 3 candidates for sheriff. If you know how to fix it, don't run for city council, quit teaching, become a consultant, and go across the country and make millions selling because it is a problem that everybody's searching for an answer for.
And I know, I did read in the paper the other day, I read in the Outlook.
Is this research?
This is research too, and this is also another paper I read. In fact, it was a, I forget which website it was, but it was, I know Mr. Deeney had mentioned the DARE program, and there was an article about how the DARE program has revamped to address the opioid. Opioid.
I can't say that word.
I know I'm not saying it all tonight. It's been a long day. The opioid epidemic, and that they have a specific program that they're working on for that and coming out with that. So I mean, that's something we can see as a positive, that there are people out there working on programs to educate the kids that, you know, this is not a path you want to go down. And I know, working with the DARE program for years, that it was a good program and the kids, you know, really enjoyed it. And I know there's other programs that we've done too that the kids have really enjoyed with anti-drug use. And in fact, we're having anti-bullying tomorrow at school, and Nate Jones is coming in to talk with the kids, so we're excited about that. It's sort of on a different topic there, but yeah.
Okay.
I would love to have a solution to that problem, but I don't. Because that would help a lot of kids. Yeah. A lot of kids in our community.
Yeah, and a lot of the employability skills and a lot of the travel of business. It's a.
And like I said, it's not. I mean, drugs. They don't discriminate. They don't care what socioeconomic status you are. They do not discriminate, and that's one thing I found. And it breaks your heart.
Absolutely.
Breaks your heart. And if they do have a solution to it, I would love for us to do it. Yeah. I would love. As a city council person, I would say yes to that if there was a one way or just a one solution to where we could end the problem.
All right. One of the questions, and it would probably been best to start with this one to kind of lay the groundwork, but I've got it written as number 6, so I didn't start with it. Explain to people watching, what's the role of city council? How's that different from role of mayor? What falls into what city council has to do? What can they not be a part of?
I'm going to do a little social studies lesson here. It's been a while since I've taught social studies. Fine. I'm now focused in pretty much on reading. But
do you need a PowerPoint or anything?
No, you know what? I can teach without a projector and a computer. I can teach with a chalkboard and an overhead projector.
Please tell me you have mimeographs for me, because they always smell good.
You know what? The mimeograph machine, and I mentioned this the other day, it never broke down.
That's very true. The copier always breaks down.
The copier always breaks down. You can always have a purple copy. As long as you have a clean Xerox copy, you can have a beautiful purple copy.
Absolutely, that's true.
And they never die. I've mimeographed thousands of pages when I worked at NKU in the education department, and they never failed.
Absolutely.
In fact, I brought out an overhead in my classroom one day, and the kids thought it was neat. You know, when you spray the water on it, and everything disappears, it melts, the colors on it. They go, wow, Mr. Scott, isn't this awesome? This is technology. I said, yeah, this is from like the 70s. I'm like, wow. They're amazed at that.
I actually had a class in college to learn how to use all that stuff that's now no longer even around.
I know.
So the difference between city council and mayor.
The difference between city council and mayor is, such as in any government, you have your executive branch, you have your legislative branch, and you have your judicial branch. Well, in comparison, the city doesn't really have a judicial branch, let's say, per se, or actually the county doesn't really. You don't really have a county.
You have a county attorney.
You have a county attorney. So that's
or a city attorney.
Well, we have a city attorney, so they can sort of be our judicial branch, which they help determine whether laws are fair and constitutional. And of course, as city council, we have to cover the U.S. Constitution, the Kentucky Constitution, and the Pendleton County codes, and then of course the city code. So we have a lot to really follow through. And so then you have the mayor's position, which is sort of like the executive position. And he is mainly in charge of handing out money in the budget. We give him the budget, and then he's, works with that, and personnel. and he gives us information that we need for the meetings. They explain things at the meetings, so we can make, as a legislative body, which is policy and ordinances and different things like that, we're more of a legislative body where we make decisions based upon that.
Okay.
Now, we do help create the budget, and we do help with personnel policies, which is something else that I've worked on, and we do, work on, we've been working on some vehicle policy. There's all kinds of policies that you work on, drug-related policies in the workplace, and social media policies, and there's all kinds of stuff, but yeah. So it's sort of like that. So we're more of the legislative body.
So if there's decisions to be made in a department, you all wouldn't necessarily be involved in those departments rather than setting the budget and policies
And
on how the
policies on
how it's supposed to run. And then the mayor puts it in
puts
play.
it into play, just like a governor or a president, they're the overseer, sort of.
What kind of things do you
Does that
non-utility?
explain it well? I'm trying to think. Okay,
Yeah.
sort of.
I've asked that question a bunch of times though. So
Okay. All right.
Well, are there things that you see beyond utilities? We discussed that. Are there things that you see that we've not talked about that city council is going to have to face in the next 4 years?
I think within the next 4 years, we're going to have to continue to upgrade our police and fire equipment, to make sure it's safe for our policemen and our firefighters, and that's something that I know the fire department is working on a big grant on, so hopefully, that'll all come through. And that's a big concern, that they have the equipment that they need in order to be safe and in order to do their job. Another problem is, and this is a problem with any municipality, is roads. There's some streets that really need some repair, but sort of have to wait to see what projects are going to come down the road, and a lot of that depends on road aid money. And I'm not for sure how all that works, so don't ask me. Like I said, I've been 2 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I finally have my feet wet on getting a grasp on things, but I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big learning process.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to learn. Like I said, you wouldn't, you think, I'll go to a few meetings. No, it's a whole lot to learn. And I think one thing that the city needs and that we're going to face is patience and time. Progress takes time. Things aren't going to get better with the snap of your fingers, and it's not going to happen overnight. Patience and time. Yeah. And I think we're seeing progress slowly but surely, but like I said, progress that's done correctly is going to take patience and time. I think that's a big thing that anybody faces with progress in the city, the county, the state, education. It's patience and time to do something correctly.
So let's say we get to December 31st, two-year term for city council, right?
2 years.
So it's December 31st, 2021. Your second term's coming to an end, and people look back and they see this tenure, this 2-year term, not the last two, we're done with that. But this 2-year term, what will they notice about this 2-year term with you being as part of city council?
Definitely more educated, not as green. I'm still researching. Still researching in order to vote for the best decision that I can through what I'm finding for our citizens. And that's the main thing. I mean, I've been a citizen of Falmouth for, ever since I started teaching, so at least 25 years per se. And, I care. And I want what's best for our citizens. Do I want to raise anything? No. But I know that, things over time, inflation, things do raise, and it has to be done. But I do want to see our city grow, and I want to see progress, and I'm hoping they see progress. Hopefully in 4 years we'll have that retention basin done. We won't be in the greed order anymore. Hopefully we'll be developing some property. I can't foresee the future. I can't project it, but I would hope that some of those things would be going on then.
You said something I wanted to follow up about
Possibly.
the rewords, retire, research,
Yes.
that kind of thing.
I
You
need those
mentioned
R's.
you mentioned about researching issues, and it made me think of a question of where is the balance between what your research may tell you that this is the route we need to go, but the residents are saying we want to go this route. Sometimes the residents want to go a route that's not good. Best example of that, Jim Crow laws in the South in the 50s. That's what the residents wanted. That wasn't good for any part of this country or that community, and they needed to have leaders who would step up and say, we're going to go this way. I know you don't want to,
And
but we're going
that's
to go.
when-
How do you balance that?
That's when you're sitting with your research and you're writing pros and cons down. There's always pros and cons to everything. And I mean, and to be honest with you, when I was researching garbage or utilities or anything, you know, there was always pros and cons, and you would go back and forth. You would say, oh my goodness, maybe this would be better. But then you'd look at something else and go, maybe not. And you talk to a plethora of people. You just don't talk to a few residents. You go out and you talk to
You know, it's
residents from, you know, all parts of the city. Maybe residents that you're not closest to, or, you know, you have the neighbor down the street, which I've done this. Come over here, man. I want to run something by you, you know. And then you go to the other neighbor. They say something totally opposite. So then you go to the third neighbor and you talk to them. So then you go down another street and you talk to them. And then you have people that also contact you and tell you their thoughts. And to be honest with you, Keith, I've had both. I've had both for, I've had both against, I've had, as long as we have service. So, you know, it's been...
It's funny because I've had people on both sides of the issue that tell me for a factual case, every resident wants it this way. Now, how can both sides have every resident? It can't.
It can't.
But in their little bubble,
but
everybody wants it, and they think their little bubble represents the entire city.
No. And I mean, just from, you know, some were, you know, well, let's just outsource garbage, let's do it this way. And then, you know, you talk about, well, what about this pro and con? You know, well, yeah, I didn't think about that. But then did you think about this? No, but let me think about that and talk to you. So then we talk some more later. Then you would talk with another person. So, you know, so you're getting an idea of the sense of feel. But no, not everybody has the same opinion on what you should do.
And so you go
and
back.
Some are in different, you know. Well, as long as I have service, that's okay. You know, whatever it is, you know. But, you know, but then you have some that were dead set against going with another company, and you have some that were like, yeah, we need to do it. So, you know, it's a balance.
And so that's when you gather all that
research,
including talking to people,
That's
and go
right.
back to your pros and cons
That's right.
list and see where it falls.
And you show people, this is what I'm seeing. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah.
And you talk with them. And you talk to different, you know, I talked with someone that's used to doing human resources. I talked with someone that's into economics heavy. I talked with someone that's a stay-at-home mom. You know, what do you think about this? You know, so I mean, you know, just talk with different people of different facets in their life, not just of our generation, but younger, older, you know. Even talked with former council members, you know, former magistrates, talked with my dad about stuff, you know. Daddy, we had this decision, and you know, he was a magistrate for a very long time, and he had to do some tough decisions, and he says, you gotta look at it, you just gotta look at it and see what's best for what the city needs. Now I'm gonna tell you what I think. I know you are. So, you know, but yeah, and he's not even a city resident, but he'll give me his 2 cents worth.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
Mom, and you know, so yeah.
Now, poor Chris, I never heard you mention that you go to advice to poor Chris.
He gives me his advice.
Does he give you his advice?
He tells me his advice too, yes. My husband tells me his advice.
How about Fisher?
Fisher, of course, always tells us his advice of what he thinks, how things should be. And, you know, Mom, I've been thinking about this, and I don't know. You know, I'm like, okay, Fisher. You know, and he'll come up with some research. You know, he's one of these kids that love to, you know, look and read and do research too, so he'll come up with stuff for me too.
Anything else?
Not unless you have anything.
No. You've answered all my questions and everything and issues and had conversations. Thanks again for coming in here late at night. I'm anxious to get home. I'm sure you too.
I am
so I appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you all continue to keep watching. And hopefully after election we'll find some other way to to continue to inform you all with those things, make sure you're going to this website to look at all the videos, FalmouthOutlook.com, not YouTube, because that doesn't help us out, and we want you to help the local
And you
businesses.
can look at it the night before the paper comes out too, because we always do.
Actually,
The digital copy.
that's true. On the digital
We
copy,
always look at it the night before.
the videos go up kind of after I get everything done. For
Yeah.
example, the county attorneys, they just got loaded up.
I saw that before I
That won't
left.
come out until next Tuesday's paper, but the videos
But the
are
videos
up there.
are-
Yeah, I have to upload them, and so there is going to be somebody that's
Yeah.
going to be uploaded first, because I can't upload 6 city
No.
councils at the same time.
That's hard.
But I try to get it all done in one
That'll be
day
great.
before I do it. So thanks again. And
Thank you.
like I always say at these last ones, I'm sorry you got to watch me walk up here and turn off the camera.